Yo, what's up guys, Medieval Marty here with another video. So, Slash's Keep, what is it? Let me tell you all about it, let's get into it. Slash's Keep is a PC game created by an indie dev, Damien Schlotter. Now, roguelikes right now are huge. I've always been a big fan of them, Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon, things like that. They've always had quite a bit of exposure and you know, they've had a bit of hype around them. But lately, Hades has come out and has taken the gaming world by storm. It's also up for Game of the Year this year. So a lot more people are getting into roguelikes. So this is a roguelike, but not like what you're expecting. So I wanted to make a little video to kind of explain what this is, why it's different, and why it deserves your time. So when you think of a roguelike, you're thinking top down, dungeon crawling, random enemies, random rooms, random items. Yes, but this is first person. Now as you can see, it looks crazy. The graphics aren't incredible in my opinion. They're not bad, but they're like cell shaded. It's very cartoony. But if you can get past that, this game is something else. So the game starts you out in an empty cell and you get a box in front of you with random items in. Your goal is to take the items, equip them, and progress through the dungeon, fight the enemies, collect the items, and climb up all the floors to escape. If you die, you are brought back to that same cell with that same chest. Now, like most roguelikes, the objective is to get a little bit better, die, and then come back stronger. And this is no different. This is exactly the same. So you will level up as you go through these floors, and as you level up, when you die, you will lose a few levels. So I think, for example, if you were to put like 6 points in, that's like one level, I think you get like 6 points a level. So you'd put let's say you put all 6 into strength, you might die, and you would lose 2 points. So you don't lose a whole level every time you die, it just degrades a little bit. So you are slowly getting stronger and stronger. And then also, as you pick up items, the items will have special abilities on them. You can choose to lock those in as a new skill, and that becomes a permanent skill. So for me, quite early on, I got an item with life gain. So every hit, you gain a % of health based on the weapon's attack. So I locked that in as a permanent ability, and then had that through every playthrough, which it's such a cool idea that the items you find can build your character. Another thing that can happen is every floor you progress through, there's a chute, like a delivery chute, and you can throw things in it and it will appear in your box for the next playthrough. So if you get to like the 3rd floor and you've got some really badass equipment, you could chuck it all in and start again, just die and go back with all the equipment, or you could chuck in the equipment you're not using and give yourself a semi-strong build for the next playthrough. Now, that can be really good. I've thrown some cool stuff down that chute and, you know, just walked in with a sick weapon from the start, but you've got to make sure you can equip it because there is, you know, strength, dexterity limits on all items. So if your stats do degrade, you won't be able to equip those items that you throw down. So let's get into, you know, what's in the game, the features. First off, you can probably see the combat behind. It looks quite simple, you know, swing the sword, block the attacks. Now, it is kind of simple, but you can mix it up. So one thing that you can do in this is you can do long attacks or you can do quick attacks. With the long attacks, you can use certain buttons and you can adjust how those attacks come out. So you can do like a big swing. If you've got, you know, a fast weapon, you could do a quick stab. Personally, for me, I found if you back up from the enemies and then lunge back into them, you can go for their face and do crazy damage. That was my tactic through most of the game, if I'm honest. Or you can just take a big old club and just swing people around the head with it. That also works pretty well. But the real thing that I found cool is the parry system. So when you parry an enemy, you don't just press a button. If an enemy is swinging a sword like to your right at your head, you need to turn, look at that sword, and then block it with your sword. That's how you successfully block. Now, that feels so intuitive because there's certain different enemies that have like different attack stances, different moves, so it can be quite cool. Another thing you can do is you might have seen you can push people back with like a knockback. So you can push them into spikes, you can push them into traps, you can knock them off walls, and that can be super fun. There's certain enemies that can only be killed because they've got such good armor. If your weapons are good enough, you have to push them into traps. Really cool idea. And then the items in the game, I think I touched on, your items will come with strength, dexterity, or intelligence on. And the items are completely randomised. Every playthrough is different locations, different items, all that stuff, like most roguelikes. There's 2 things that the items do really well in this game. One, ranged combat. you can get wands or weapons, ranged weapons. Now the wands have limited casts, but they're super strong. So when you start out, the wands will have like 2 casts on them. So you'll pick them up from a wizard and you'll have 2 ranged attacks, which makes the ranged combat really rare and really cool. So you're going to look for these and you're going to save them for the best moments. And then as you get further in the game, there are items that can increase the wand's recharges, and there are some really special ranged weapons that are awesome. And then the second really cool thing about the items is there's a crafting system. As you go through the dungeons, you'll find things like a hilt of a weapon or a shaft of an axe, and you'll just kind of put it in your bag and you'll not know what to do with it. If you can, there's shopkeepers as well throughout the dungeon that you might find, or quest givers that might give you certain things for these items. As you collect the different parts of a weapon, you can find a crafting bench and you can assemble a tailor-made weapon with its own abilities. It has its own stats that you'll pick from the different things that you put into it. And these weapons are incredible. And then you can use your skills to lock in those certain abilities. That adds so much to the game. And then the fact that you can then chuck those things down the chute for your next life is really cool. And it's not something that I've seen in most roguelikes. And then on top of this, the only other things in the game that are a little different is there's lots of random encounters, random events, random quests that appear. There's secret rooms and like secret ways to get around that and it will trigger and it will say secret unlocked. And it's very cool. So yeah, I'm not going to get too deep into the game. You can see what the game is. It is a fun roguelike that's very different to what I've played before, and it scratches that itch of a new roguelike. It doesn't just do what all the other roguelikes are doing, but a little bit better. This is completely different, and if you're into roguelikes, this isn't an expensive game. Get it, try it. It's really fun. I saw this on sale and was like, I'll have a punt on it. I'll just have a bit of fun. 10 hours in, I thought, I've got to make a video about this. They've got to like spread some awareness because this is a really cool game. And a pat on the back to this indie guy. He putting this together on your own, a real achievement. If anyone's really into this kind of video or this game, let me know. I could always do a let's play. Drop it in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, drop a subscribe on the channel. I do review these weird little indie games all the time. You might find some little gems. Other than that, have a good day, guys, and thanks for watching.